Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, let's watch. This is the Psychology in Seattle YouTube channel, which I'm sure you know, but just reminding, let's watch. All right, so let's play the prediction game based on personality that includes one's defensive structure and what have we seen from Ed, and we've seen a lot from Ed. I very much doubt that he is going to exhibit much, if any, differentiation and taking responsibility and truly apologizing for what he needs to apologize for. I suspect that at best he will say something like, "I'm sorry for asking for the ring back." I'm guessing he'll say something like that. And if people, because I'm guessing the rest of them are going to potentially go after him because they're triangulated in right now, because Liz, I think, is shutting down, which will pull in other people to fight for her, for better or for worse. Then when that happens, he'll kick into high gear his defensive structure again and defend himself and come across and start to smokescreen. And I'm guessing Liz will just sit there and check out. I don't know. A lot of things could happen, but that's one possible scenario. Another is that he apologizes, kind of. She lays into him a little bit about lying. And then, yeah, I just can't imagine this going well. Well, let's see. Let me role play if I were Ed. Knowing what I know about Ed's personality, I'm actually going to take a complete guess as to what is going on with him on the inside, and I'm going to speak from that core part of what I think is there, which of course I have no idea if it's there. So if Ed were to be the healthiest of healthy and the most differentiated, the most mature, the most secure, it would sound something like this. "Liz, I'm sorry." And Liz, if you're watching, let me know if this, and Ed, if you're watching, let me know if this hits the mark at all. "Liz, I am very insecure, as you know. And when we were in there, I was hoping that you would be on my side. But when I lied or forgot about contacting Rose, it triggered you to question whether or not I was a liar or not, or whether or not I cheated on you or not. And that's normal, but it really triggered me. And I was terrified I was going to lose you. I was also terrified I was going to be made a fool of, because I have a big issue with that. I was terrified that everyone was going to hate me, not only the other cast members, but Sean and the crew, the producers, the camera people, and the public. And, you know, I have a very big sensitivity to that kind of risk. I went from being stressed out about being in the show to a 9 very quickly, and I couldn't think straight. And all I could think was I needed to defend myself, because I felt like I was being persecuted and victimized unfairly, but I probably wasn't, because in fact I'm sure I wasn't actually being put upon in the way it felt like I was. And, you know, we know that when I'm in that situation, I go back to when I was 5 years old and my dad was about, or whatever sort of trauma this generates from. And so that's all I could see, was that I was being mistreated, that I was being rejected, that I was being accused of things that I didn't do. And so I just came out trying to defend myself, and I said a lot of things that I don't really even remember what I said, but I'm sure if we watched the tape, I would cringe at it. And there's something, you know, I'm just sorry that I do this all the time. Terrified of losing you. I'm terrified of being alone. I'm not only terrified of losing you because I want to be with you, but I'm terrified that if you and I don't work out, nothing will ever work out for me, that no one will ever love me. And I have a lot to lose. I have a lot at stake here. And I don't feel, in fact, even with you, Liz, that you love me and you've been there for me. There are times when I don't even really trust it, because I just don't believe that that'll ever happen for me. And it's not an excuse. It's just how it is for me. And so I'm sorry to you, Liz. I'm sorry to everyone here. I've got issues. I'm working on it. And I'm just sorry. Did I describe it right, Liz? Are you hurt did I hurt your feelings? Also, with the rose thing, I don't know. I have a bad memory, and we broke up 10 times, and I'm 99% sure that when I reached out to Rose, you and I were broken up. But there's a chance that I reached out to her when we were still together and we were having kind of a bad moment, even though we weren't broken up. And I'm terrified of even acknowledging that to myself, that I would do that to you. Not only because I just don't want to be, I don't want to be outed like that. I don't want people to hate me, but I have this weird irrational road in my mind that if I do something like that to you, if I acknowledge that, yes, I did text Rose and asked to hang out with her, even if it was in between our relationship when we were broken up, I have this irrational flowchart that if I acknowledge that and you see me that way, that I'll be giving you permission to do that to me, that you will start reaching out to your exes, which I have to say, I am way more terrified of than is rational. And you've told me many times you don't even talk to your exes, or you tolerate them. They were pretty awful to you. You would never go back to them. You've told me that I'm much better of a partner than they were. And yet I lie awake at night wondering if you're texting with them, or, because they're more attractive. I mean, look at me. People say it all the time, and I know what I look like. I've always, been rejected because of this. And those other guys and all the guys you work with and the women you work, everyone, in my mind, you are more attracted to than you are to me. And I know you've reassured me. This is my complex that I have. And so I weirdly thought that if I admitted to you that I had contacted Rose, that would give you permission, and then you would contact your exes, and I would lose you, and I would be the loser, ugly person that I feel like that I am, and that's not right, but that is what goes on with me. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to take a guess and say that that's close to the mark, somewhere near there. So let's see what he says.
So is Angela back?
Yes.
Oh, she is?
Why isn't she on stage with us?
I don't know.
Because she's a queen.
Oh.
You going to come in?
Yeah, why not?
I think everybody should respect each other.
All right, so apparently they're switching gears to Angela. We might not hear what Ed is going to say at all. But the fact that he says nothing is saying something. In my world, we have a phrase that says, you cannot not communicate. You are never not communicating, meaning that you're always communicating. Even, we have this way of talking in our popular culture of just like, he never communicates with me, or she's completely non-communicative. When you are, quote unquote, not communicating, you're communicating something. You're communicating that you don't want to communicate, or you're communicating that you don't want to be with the person, or you're communicating rejection or anger or indifference. There's always communication happening.
I think, I was mad. It's just, for me, like I had everybody except for you guys just pouncing on me, and then Liz, instead of
Been there.
Standing by me, she's just like you're on fire, and she's like kicking the coals. And
yeah, I think that you guys just have to learn to fight without going below the belt.
I love your advice.
From your mannerism and things that you said, you truly do have a strong feeling for her. Like, you truly want to be with her. You truly do want love.
I do.
I will say that if I were Ed, and God bless me if I was, that I would be bothered by Bilal's demeanor. I mean, he's being nice, you could say that, but I think even Ed's reaction, his facial expression, I don't know if I'm just reading into it, but I think Ed might be thinking, yeah, good advice, Bilal. But his tone, maybe it's just because I've seen other scenes with Bilal. Let's rewatch this. We can use this as a jumping off point for our own listening skills, that when someone's going through something, Let me role play. If I were at my best, this is what I would say to Ed. He sits down. He's just like, yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, how you feeling? I mean, that'd be a great question to ask. Or, yeah, I mean, you've really been through a lot today. It was kind of stressful for me too. Yeah. How what's going on? How you doing? That's all you got to do. But watch what Bilal does.
Pouncing on me, and then Liz, instead of
Been there.
standing by me, she's just like you're on fire, and she's like kicking the coals. And
Yeah. I think that you guys just have to learn to fight without going below the belt.
I love your advice.
From this,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm reading into it, but when I hear Ed say, I love your advice, I wonder if there's a part of him that thinks it's fine, but another part of him that's thinking, thanks for that right now. Now, it's interesting that Ed is still in that narrative that Ed's like, look, I expect people to come after me, but for Liz to, he says, throw coals on the fire, it's just an interesting perspective that he has, because it certainly didn't look that way. Liz saw him in a lie and turned to him and said, you lied to me. And Ed made fun of her, me no speaking English, and just kept and saying, sit down, Liz. Jay, Jesus Christ, Liz, sit down. It was really off-putting, and I think that was the main issue. It wasn't that there was this inconsistency or the fact that he even reached out to Rose. It was the way he was treating her when she just brought it up.
your mannerism and things that you said, you truly do have a strong feeling for her. Like you truly want to be with her. You truly do want love.
Yeah. His facial expression, Ed, is just like, you imagine just someone telling you that. You truly have feelings for her. You truly do. Now, I guess what Bilal is trying to do, now that I think about it, is that he's trying to encourage Ed to be more loving by accentuating those things, which, it's not a bad thing.
I do.
You know,
It might be too late. I want to just give up.
yeah. That's the easy thing to do, though.
I think my reactivity against Bilal is because of the amount of superior talking down that he does to Shida, that to see him doing it, a much lesser version of it right now, because it's pretty rich that Bilal feels like he can offer advice, like when Ben was offering advice, because he was a pastor and he used to be kind of like a couples therapist or something. And so for these individuals to say those kinds of things is fine. Your life doesn't have to be perfect by any means in order to be a therapist, even a couple counselor. But I don't know. I think you've seen me react to Bilal's tone with Shida, and I think I'm just reacting to that.
I want to apologize to you for what I said.
Okay, so the key is, what are you apologizing for? I've done huge deep dives on apologies, and one of the things that I sort of knew before making the deep dive, but really solidified in my mind, was that you can say you're sorry, you can take responsibility, you can apologize, but unless you're apologizing for the actual transgression, then you're not actually apologizing. Unless you're taking responsibility for the thing that was the transgression, for the harm that you committed, then you're not apologizing. You're just saying, I apologize. You're just saying, I'm sorry. So let's see if he can demonstrate, at least, they edit this, but at least to us, the audience, that he understands. Now, we don't know what the transgression is because only she can define that. But I suspect what it is that the way he talks to her, not only the lies about Rose, not only talking to Rose and hiding it from her, not only lying about it, but also when asked about it, because Liz didn't come at him and be like, you piece of crap. She just asked, so did you just lie to us? For Ed to just humiliate her, talk down to her, be verbally abusive to her, let's see if he demonstrates that he understands that that's what the transgression is.
You can't just break up with me and go make these stupid choices a day or two later and then try to come back. Like, when you broke my...
she's identifying initially anyway, the main transgression is that he broke up with her. Give me the ring back, which is arguably a breakup. So I guess they've broken up 11 times. Maybe there's a lot more like that, a lot smaller incidents of breakup. Did they consider the engagement party a breakup? Anyway, so she can define the transgression however she wants. But another part of the apology system is not only does the transgressor, the person who committed the transgression, not only do they have to figure out, and sometimes they have to ask, what was the transgression? How did I harm you exactly? And what were the effects of it? Because it's not automatic that you're going to know that. You just know you did something wrong, or you have an idea. You could take a guess, but you got to inquire, especially in a relationship like this. But the transgressed upon individual also has to understand enough about themselves to know what the transgression was. You can have a transgression upon you and be harmed and be affected by a transgression, but due to your own awareness issues or self-esteem issues or confusion or something, you might actually present to the other person a different identified transgression than the actual transgression. You might also not trust the other person enough to tell them what you really were harmed by. Because I suspect that the main transgression was what I said earlier in terms of the attacks and the humiliation and the talking down to her and the refusal to acknowledge what happened. That is the transgression. Breaking up with her also hurtful. And the way he broke up with her, this flippant, arrogant way, hurtful way. And so she is coming out of the gate saying that, and if he apologizes for that, if he says, yes, I'm sorry for breaking up with you, I was just emotional in the moment, and that could all be real. But I would suspect that if that's all the apologies that they're going to do right now, they won't actually be able to get to what I think the core of the matter is. And if they do this habitually, then one, he isn't given a greater opportunity to identify why or what he's doing that is harmful to others. And I imagine he has a hard time facing that and will become defensive about it. But also, she might not get an opportunity to get an apology that she deserves, and she might not even know that she deserves not to be treated that way, you know what I mean? This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk about empowerment. When we feel empowered, we recognize our strengths. When we feel empowered and we experience adversity, we're more likely to see it as a welcome challenge rather than an overwhelming obstacle. And since we're social creatures, we often need help from others to feel empowered at times. We might need others to give us perspective. We might need others to recognize how we might be able to overcome the obstacle. And sometimes the people around us, they're really not that much help. I've been there before. When I went to therapy for the first time when I was 19 years old, it was primarily because none of my friends were very helpful in this area. Sometimes it's really great to talk with a therapist when you want to feel more empowered. Well, that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp is convenient and flexible and affordable. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
My heart after the first tatwa before we got engaged. I told you what I did in my single time, and you kept that from me.
Okay, so she's saying when we were single, I told you my dating life, and you kept that from me. You didn't tell me that you were trying to get back with Rose. She's not saying I'm jealous of Rose. She's not saying it's wrong that you did it. She's saying it's wrong that you lied by omission. Let's see if he can take responsibility and apologize for that.
But you just need to know where I was at today. I was drowning, and I felt like you were stepping on my head.
Okay, so this sounds like another diversion, another smokescreen, another excuse of, well, you got to understand where I'm coming from. Now, if he had said, I do apologize for that, there's no excuse. I should have told you about it a long time ago. And I'm sorry. I was insecure. I was worried what you were going to say. I was ashamed. I have a problem. I don't know. Something wrong with me. And I felt like you threw me under the bus earlier today. I don't think she threw him under the bus, but that's how he feels. But that's not what he did. He says, I apologize. I take full responsibility. I did something wrong. She says, I told you what I did when I was single. You did not. She's essentially saying you lied by omission. Then he's, without saying yes, that is the harm that I committed. And yes, I do apologize for that. He comes up with what he says here.
I told you what I did in my single time, and you kept that from me.
And again, I want to applaud healthy behavior where I see it. Liz is very healthy right now. She's not attacking. She's just laying it out and expressing vulnerability. This is perfect in terms of how you communicate, how you give someone a chance to know what's in your heart and give them a chance to rise to the occasion. Liz does this a lot, and we don't often see this on the show. So many times you'll see a Liz individual. Think of Angela. Angela is arguably in a very similar situation with her partner, but at least on the show, we don't see her being vulnerable to Michael and others as well. You know, you can imagine getting up in arms. You can imagine, I'm out of here, and then they're back together. Instead, Liz is just like, hey, you hurt me, and I'm going to exhibit that emotion right now as I cry, and it's just lobbing the ball over the plate. And all he has to do is say, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I didn't mean to, but I could see why you were hurt by that. It is hurtful. I have a problem with shame. I was worried that you're going to leave me. I was worried you're going to judge me, but that's not, it doesn't mean it's okay. I also kind of thought, we didn't really identify that we had to disclose everything that we did in between while we were single. And so, but you're right. And especially when they started asking me on the show if I'd had contact with Rose, I continued to say no. And so, you know, there's a lot of different ways he could respond. He doesn't have to throw himself under the bus. He doesn't have to beat himself up, but he can say a lot of things. But instead, he says this.
But you just need to know where I was at today. I was drowning, and I felt like you were stepping on my head.
If he's differentiated, at least in this moment, he'll be able to say, it felt like you were stepping on my head, but maybe you weren't, because it didn't look like she was stepping on his head. It looked like he was stepping on her head, and then claiming that she was playing a victim and then continuing to stomp on her head, figuratively.
And the one person I wanted to count on and stand beside me, right or wrong, and I thought that was you.
But I can't do that when it was a lie.
Yeah, Liz is being so healthy in this moment. She's sticking to it. And this season, she's done a lot of this. In the midst of his smoke screens and all of his meanderings, I don't know if I could do better than this. Because I would go, but she just cuts right to it. She's like, well, how am I supposed to stand behind you when you lied to me? Like, what am I supposed to do there? Are you saying I'm supposed to just say, thank you for lying to me? I stand behind my man when he lies to me? What is that? That's not going to make any sense. I can't just support lies to me.
Count on and stand beside me, right or wrong. And I thought that was you.
But I can't do that when it was a lie.
By the way, I don't often applaud. Is it TLC? Discovery? Who does this show? I don't often applaud them, but I will applaud them now. I mean, I will applaud them in general for creating a very popular show that I watch all the time and enjoy, and gives me a platform to talk about all my yammerings. But this tell-all is designed very well. They've played around a lot of different formats for tell-all. You know, remember we had the Tim and Kenny reaction duo last tell-all, or at least one of the past tell-alls, and they were experimenting with that, and that was a big flop. I think they should have edited that whole thing out. I mean, those two guys are lovely fellas, but they just didn't add at all. I would skip over what they were saying because I don't think they knew what to say. And I think Kenny's too nice, honestly, to say anything particularly juicy. And I think Tim might be on the nice side as well. Anyway, but the thing I'll applaud them for is maybe they're following in the footsteps of Love is Blind or something, because after the tell-all, they all go back to the hotel, and because presumably they're under contract to be there, or they're paying for everything, and so they're like, we're paying for this fancy dinner, so you got to be there or something. Because I imagine a lot of these people would rather just go back to the hotel room, so they're really trying to make this happen, and they give them drinks. Everyone is having drinks, and there's more behind the scenes interacting, so there's more opportunity for realness to happen, like this conversation normally they'd be trying to engineer this in the green room of the tell-all, but that's harder for the cast members, I'm guessing, to feel natural or to feel like they're ready to have a conversation. I'm guessing after they have a couple of drinks, they've had some food, they're back in their hotel, they've gone to the bathroom, this kind of thing. They're able to be more relaxed. The other thing that I'll applaud them for is, I mean, there seems to be a little bit of this, but they don't seem to be really trying to provoke them to attack each other. When Angela got out of the tell-all, they didn't seem to be really trying to pull her back in. In the past, what would happen, and I thought things were, so this is actually a good development, because I thought this show and all of its iterations, I thought things were getting kind of worse and worse and worse along these lines. But in the past, when the Angelas would leave, all the attention would go towards the Angela, and they would completely ignore all the people that were being more differentiated and were providing entertaining but less aggressive content, you know? And so everyone would follow the Angela, and they'd ask everyone, what do you think about Angela leaving? Someone go out there and get Angela. I mean, it might have literally even been Angela that left, and they could not let it go. The whole production just could not let it go. But this time she storms off after being in the room for literally like 6.5 seconds, and she just creates this holy whirlwind. She came back because then Michael was in the room. But she came back at her own time is the point. So my point is that there's a lot of elements to this tell-all. I've heard that there's going to be 4 episodes because I think there's going to be a lot of this behind-the-scenes stuff. The tone seems to be more real and less trying to engineer chaos and drama. And, I mean, certainly there's some of that, but the questions that they're including, because remember that there's a lot of questions that Sean will ask that will be excluded. They're including a lot of the questions that I imagine that the audience wants to be asked. And so I don't know, I just take a minute and applaud the show, because for me, one, I want it to be entertaining. It's just, you want it to be interesting just because you're watching it. And 2, I want it to give us the information such that I get a sense of what's really happening. And then 3, that gives me a chance to actually utilize my psychological, relational, family systems concepts to the situation so that we all can learn from it. And I will say that this tell-all really delivered in that way.
And the one person I wanted to count on and stand beside me, right or wrong, and I thought that was you.
But I can't do that when it was a lie. You could have just told me you reached out.
Right, even more healthy. She's just really cutting to the core. It's like, you could have just told me that you reached out. Like, that's all you had to do. Now, of course, my tone when I role-played that is much more insulting. She's way less insulting than the way that I could even possibly engineer it. Now, in this moment, this might be indicative of their conversations, and at the very least, Ed isn't exploding. He's not denying. He has the appearance of someone who's listening. That's saying something, because there are people on this show and in life who wouldn't receive this well at all. They would just get defensive, or they'd storm off, or they'd go, how dare you. Think of Angela as, this sort of thing. So this might be why Liz stays in the relationship, because even when they do have problems, they are able to communicate somewhat. And I'll tell you that when I work with couples, and we found this through research, that you can't get rid of all conflict in couples. And the conflicts that we typically will have in long-term satisfactory relationships tend to be habitual, meaning that the thing you fight about for the first couple years of your relationship, in all likelihood, you will fight about the rest of your relationship. And this notion that somehow healthy couples resolve conflicts is not reflected in the data. Something like 60% of conflicts that healthy, satisfactory, long-term marriages experience never get, quote-unquote, resolved. Now, you might be able to take care of each other as you deal with the conflict, listen to each other. But there are some core issues, just personality clashes or triggers or distortions that don't entirely get ironed out, and they will always happen. So it's possible that for this couple, this is one of those things where Ed won't fully understand how he transgressed, but will kind of get it. And that's enough for Liz, perhaps. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself and take care of others. Take care of everyone, animals included, because we all deserve it. We really, really do.